send me the email so I can use it in the interpretation?
Oh, yeah, I think it's gonna be like a little out, like a bowling alley tomorrow. They got
Yeah,
that.
and then I'll forward over and I'll ask him to kind of expedite.
Good evening, and welcome to the February 13th, 2025 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And Ms. Smith, if we could get a roll call, please.
Chairman McGonigal,
Here?
Vice Chairman Quinn. Here. Mendel Bell,
Here.
Andy Thomas,
Here.
Joe Reeves,
Here.
Cynthia Lover. Here. Wyman Wise.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Okay, if we could take a minute, I think we all have a set of the minutes from the Thursday, January 9th meeting. If we could take a minute to review, and if somebody's prepared to make a motion to approve those minutes.
Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes from the January 9th meeting.
Great, thank you, Mr. Reeves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second from Mr. Wise. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'll have to abstain. I have something.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Quinn. All righty. Item number 3 on the agenda, we've got City. Mr. Caldwell, do you have any communications?
No, sir.
Great, thank you. Ms. Smith, if you can get everybody to rise that's planning on speaking today and get them sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You may sit down.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll start with the new business. We've got item number 1. We've got variance 40-24, an application by Jessica Black for a variance to encroach into the side yard setback at 1301 Shore Drive, zone mobile manufactured home residential district in the R3. Is someone here to speak on behalf of this variance? Great. Good. If you come up to the microphone, you could just introduce yourself.
How's everybody?
Good, thank you.
Hey, my name's Tom Russell. I'm with Future Homes out of the Ocean Isle Beach location that we have.
Okay,
We are making an application to build a new home for a fella over at 1301 Shore Drive. It's kind of, if you have the paperwork, it's kind of an odd-shaped lot, and we're just trying to figure out if we can make something fit in there. And we designed a home to be able to fit on that lot, just a little 32 by 32 house up on pilings. And the issue we're having right now is the eave apparently is over into the setback.
okay, great. Any questions? I'm sorry, what was your name again, sir?
Oh, I'm Tom Russell.
Tom, okay, thank
Yep.
you. Thank you, Mr. Russell. Any questions for Mr. Russell?
One. So is this going to be a stick-built house or a manufactured home?
Our company is an off-frame modular builder primarily. We site build and use modular construction to build. So this is going to be a modular home.
So this would be like 2 pieces, you come in and put
Yep.
it on stilts or something?
Yep, we're going to build the pilings and then be able to bring the house in and be on and off the property in a day with the house set.
Okay. So, well, I keep asking questions. So
Okay.
is it something you manufacture yourself somewhere and then bring in, or is it I'm just wondering why it's smaller if you're manufacturing it yourself?
I agree. I understand. No, we buy the house. We design the house, and it's a custom design because of the shape of the lot. It's not a square. It's not a rectangle. It's just a weird shaped lot.
Yeah, it is a weird shaped lot.
So we designed a house that we thought would fit, and then we buy it. We have a manufacturer in Martinsville, Virginia, that we buy the product from. Our company is a general contracting company using modular construction.
So if you design it, why can't you design it 12 and a half inches shorter?
Well, part of the problem is that we found out about the eve issue when we were going into the building permit process. I was not aware of it. Ignorance is never a reason for anything, but so we had designed our piling foundation and had the house built at the facility, and it's there, built, and now we find out we have this issue. So that's where we at.
So if you had known from the beginning about the overhang issue, you could have designed it where you wouldn't have needed a variance?
It's possible that we could have taken another foot out of this already pretty small house and try to make it work for them, yeah.
Okay. And so why don't you just go back and do that now?
Again, the structure's constructed.
Oh, it's already built somewhere?
Yes,
Okay, I didn't understand that.
It's sitting at the holding facility in Martinsville, Virginia. They're waiting for me to call them and say, all right, let's go.
Okay, I didn't understand that,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions before we hear from the city? All right, Mr. Russell, give us a city, and we'll be back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Petitioner Jessica Black has submitted an application to reduce the required side yard setback for a proposed projecting roof overhang at 1301 Shore Drive, zoned mobile manufactured home R3 district. The R3 district requires 7.5-foot side yard setbacks. Projecting roof overhangs are not permitted to encroach into required side yard setbacks. The application is asking to be granted, or the applicant is asking to be granted a variance to encroach up to 12 inches into the side yard setback with the projecting roof overhang. Staff recommends that the board review the variance application, review attached photos, and hear the evidence presented at the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell.
You're welcome.
So I'm taking a look at this. So we got the side yard setback. Is it also the back corner with that 10-foot? Is there another 12-inch over there?
It's probably a better question for the applicant. I don't have the plans in front of me.
Okay.
Just have the plot plan.
But we're really talking, then, so it's really talking about the side yard is where we've got a 12-foot?
Just the side yard.
I mean, 12
The
inch?
ordinance allows the encroachment of up to 2 foot of roof overhang into the rear and into the front,
Okay.
just not the sides.
Oh, just on the side, okay.
So if it's the same overhang, it shouldn't be a problem in the back.
Ms. Caldwell, could he shift the house to the, looking at the map, could he just shift it? To the right?
You got the.
They got about 5 inches to work with, or about 6 inches to work with, it looks like. Is that a 0.5 on the front there? Yeah, so they could shift it, and because of the shape of the lot, any shift to the right would make it also shift towards the
The rear?
front or the rear.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
there's a couple, 6 inches to work with, it looks like.
Could we,
I mean, if he moves it back to the right, it really only has 1 inch though, right? Off that back setback, I mean, it's 10-1, so if it goes over to the right, it's gonna shrink, right?
It's going to shrink in the back and
Yeah.
in the front, as it's, there's a shorter side yard there.
Move it 1 inch, yeah. Yeah.
but you can have the overhang, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
'cause it's
the
gonna-
actual
the
structure
house,
itself.
the structure
yeah.
itself, right?
Structure itself, yep.
This is a teeny little lot. Did y'all go look at it?
Yeah, it's tiny.
I know, I went and looked, I was like, I can't believe they're gonna put a house on it,
Yeah.
that they can fit something in
Yeah.
there.
I mean, and her house is only 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It's not like it's.
1,024.
Yeah, it's right at 1,000
Figure it
square
out.
feet, yeah.
And you've got maybe as odd a shaped lot as you could ever have, right?
Yeah.
Except for that one in front of it. This one here on the corner. I was just amazed.
And
Those little
the,
lots in there.
and the applicant also saved 4 trees on this property by
That was gonna be my question.
Business.
That large triple trunk tree on the front of the
they're
property?
keeping all those trees.
They're gonna leave those, okay.
I don't.
Okay, got any questions, or is somebody prepared to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. I move that the board grant variance V 41-24 because the applicant has demonstrated an unnecessary hardship. Specifically, there are extraordinary exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property, which is the irregular shape of the lot and the smaller size and nature. These conditions, they do apply to other properties in the vicinity. Because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The authorization of the variance would not be of substantial detriment to adjacent properties or to the public good, and the character of the district would not be harmed by the granting of the variance, and we will allow the variance as requested, 12 inches to that side setback.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Reeves with the second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right. You're good to go. Thank you. Uh-huh. Okay, we got here. Okay, I'm going to have to recuse myself on the next one. It's item number 2. Mr. Quinn?
Item number 2 on this agenda is BZA-25-1, application by Chad Hatley for a special exception to construct and operate a climate-controlled storage facility near the intersection of Robert Edge Parkway and Highway 90 in the Highway Commercial HC District, PIN number 34907020014. Mr. Hatley?
For the development group for this particular tract of land, on behalf is the partnership. The current property is zoned as a highway commercial at this point in time. And of course, the section 2326 of the Highway Commercial District specifies what uses can be done with that particular zoning. And it also designates special exceptions that can be done. The climate control mini warehouse, as it's referred to within the ordinance, is a special exception that is allowed subject to the other requirements here, and it's subject to the approval by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Just conveniently kind of provides us a list of what things are required, and we can take a look at that and see. The first section of that is the mini development regulations, each stating that each individual storage unit shall meet the definition of a mini warehouse. Essentially, that's pretty straightforward. A mini warehouse is designated a climate control. Mini warehouse is one that's completely enclosed. No unit can be larger than 300 square feet. Typically, most of these are 10 by 10 units or smaller. That's a no issue. We don't intend of any issues with the minimum or maximum size. No individual storage unit shall have a door that opens to the exterior of the building, and that is not, again, anything that we're looking to do for various reasons, including just general aesthetics of the building itself. The next portion designates that the exterior of the building must consist of finished surfaces such as brick, vinyl, plaster, wood, mortar, stucco, synthetic, all of which is within our intentions for the building, will comply with that. Also, this particular development is part of an overall commercial development, and it is subject to covenants, and the development group, my group, does retain architectural review rights. Naturally, we have most of you know, I believe, a significant apartment development here of significant value. We certainly have no intentions of anything putting there that would be detrimental in any aspect as far as visually pleasing or any other fashion, any inconvenience that would create a nuisance. And so this will be done in a proper way and in full conformance with these particular restrictions. Other thing, the next section of the ordinance is the site location standards. The special exceptions cannot abut against Highway 17, Main Street, Sea Mountain Highway, or located between Highway 17 and the Atlantic Ocean, none of which apply in this instance. That's not an issue here. Special exception will not be injurious to adjoining property. Again, that is not the case here. This is a overall, you have the multi-family building, 360 apartments. On the front side of that, there's going to be 7 to 8 acres of commercial space, all of which, but set for 2.5, is already under contract and soon to be developed. This particular product, I mean, within a 1 mile radius of this, there's over 1,000 apartments alone, not to mention townhomes, single-family homes, and there is no product like this in that area. Our apartments can nearly fill this particular space as far as the storage. There's a need, in other words, there is a need for it in the area, so that we feel like it's a good fit for where it's at. This is also an internal lot, so it doesn't have as much visibility to make it as useful in terms of a retail or a food and beverage use for that particular area. So it's a good fit, we feel, for that. Also, one thing about these particular products is it does not create a large demand, parking, traffic, typically not as much of an issue with this type of business as others. So it's another good aspect for it. Another section here is the special exception will be substantial harmony with the area. Again, for the same reason just said, we feel like that the commercial aspect of it, that this is harmonious with that. Special exception will not discourage or negate the use of surrounding property. In this particular instance, we own all the surrounding property at this point in time, and it is, again, it fits within the overall vision of the property and the use of the surrounding properties, and it's no way creates any harm to any surrounding areas. And where determined necessary by the special exception next is just subject to you guys, again, approval is what is required for the special exception to be granted. That is essentially what we have. This particular site, we're about, God willing, and Santee Cooper, which is about, sometimes it seems to be the same. We're about 4 weeks away from being completed on the cut-through road. And when it's done, there will be a 10-foot buffer margin on each side of the road that will also have the sidewalks, fully landscaped, street lighting, trees, et cetera. So, we understand that there's a architectural point or portion of it that we have to meet. We understand that there's the landscape aspect that's required by the city that we have to meet, and certainly have no issues complying with all of those things. So we feel like it's a good fit, and we would appreciate your approval to allow this special exception.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
From the city?
Petitioner Chad Hatley has submitted an application for a special exception for a proposed climate-controlled mini-storage facility in the Highway Commercial HC District at the intersection of Robert Edge Parkway and Highway 90. And Mr. Hatley has already gone over all the requirements or criteria for the board to find the special exception is acceptable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any discussions by that?
Yeah, I guess for Mr. Hatley, I do have a question for you. I know you talked about traffic, which being zone highway commercial, you can pretty much put anything else there you want, right? You could be anything that nature.
Correct. We could put, most of which would be much more, a lot more traffic associated with those
Right.
type businesses.
I guess with these type of facilities, what's the average visit per day with something like this?
I don't know the specifics for that industry, what it would be. I know from my personal use, unfortunately, I'm one of these people that have wanted and pay too much money for, there's more value, less value inside the unit than what I pay per month. But if Carolina Forest, I never go there where there's more 4 or 5, and that's a much more congested area. But I've never been at the extra space location at Carolina Forest was more 4 or 5 vehicles.
I got you. And so with that being said, Mr. Caldwell, I have a question for you. I can't remember, what is the parking ordinance for an indoor storage? How many parking spaces are they required to have?
Well, that's going through a change as well.
Okay.
Right now, our ordinance, is it 1 per 5 units?
I believe it's 8 per unit, if I'm
1
not
per
mistaken,
8?
is currently.
Okay. 1 per 8 was the current, and we're looking at redoing that. If you recall, we had another mini storage come in a few months ago, and he brought in data from similar businesses, and it was very small. We were way overparked with what our current ordinance was, so we're redoing that ordinance as well. Again, I don't know what stage we're at in that review, but that is going to come down.
So with that being said, if you had your choice to reduce parking, would that be your way to go?
It is, and from a timing standpoint, that's fine with us. We're aware of that pending change, and we certainly don't plan on, or the end developer of this doesn't intend on doing anything until that's done, because it is significantly more than the counterparts in the area, what's required. It's just, like I said, there's never that many vehicles, so you don't need 30, 40 spaces in a place like that.
which allows for more pervious.
It's gonna be a place where people come in, they use an elevator to go up and down.
Correct. yeah,
Right.
Correct.
Based on that, and this is part of the question I asked at the last hearing, so we've talked about the traffic, we've talked about the parking. Are there gonna be any offices located in this?
To my knowledge, there's no intention of any out, in other words, for rental purposes, no,
Other than the office?
other than the operational side for the facility itself.
How high is this? What's the height of it?
That, at this point, typically, they're 3 stories. Of course, under the HC, it could be up 70 feet, but from a practicality standpoint, most people don't want to
Go.
take stuff up, even though there's an elevator.
Right.
You know, it seems to be, people seem to turn away from it once it's beyond 3 stories. So I think it intends to keep it 3 or,
And you said you have your own architectural review board, and it'd be in compliance with any of
Correct.
the rules and regulations. We're concerned, about the landscaping, and that kind of thing.
like I said, this is a overall new development with a very significant monetary investment, and we want this whole area to look very nice. The other things that are coming in are going to comply with that. It will be, that's something we're very insistent on. We want it to be something that the city be proud of and be a benchmark for future developments.
Now, you talked about the finish of the building, the color or the material that's going to be used. Could you help us there and tell us a little bit about what the color might be?
That change, I'm not sure what the color would be. I mean, if you've looked at the apartments out there, most of it's like a gray and white, basic, kind of a more low country type feel, and we want to continue that
You would
through.
like to see it
Right. We'd like to see it all flow together. So that's the anticipated thing. But again, that could change, but that's something we would want to maintain.
Yeah, yes, I'd like to see that as well. Any questions from the other members of the?
And that was my concern, is just, we have the rendering here, and is this going to, the one that was here a couple of months ago, I understand they're not building it now, after we went through an hour of our lives talking about it, and then they decided not to build it. So, but that one, they said, would look like the one that's down there on Shore Drive, sort of across from the old McDonald's, across from the seafood restaurants.
The extra space.
Yeah, is it going to look like that?
I mean, it's not going to look identical to that. It'll have some commonality, I guess, in some aspects. But for instance, like we plan on putting most of these places have 2 bays where there's large doors that go up where you can pull trucks in. That would be on the back side facing the apartment. And on that side of the apartments, there's going to be a row of garages. So all you'll see is the back side of garages with that. So we're going to put those type of things on that side of the building. So basically, it's going to look more like an office building that
I'd just like it to look less industrial.
yeah. Well,
That's why I'm saying, the one on there on Restaurant Row is, to me, you get across the street in the parking lot and look at it, it looks like a ugly concrete. I mean, they try to make it nice, but it looks like an industrial area, where this is going to be a residential area, so.
Well, I know what you're saying, but it's not a residential area. This is a commercial area with. Important to us for it to look very pleasing, aesthetic. Intend on doing that. So we share in that from our side of it, and with the architect review aspect of it, we plan on doing that as well. I agree with you. I'd like for it to look less boxy and like what it is, but.
So going back to Mr. Bell's questions about pervious and impervious surfaces, you're planning on 1 parking space per 8 units.
No.
They're saying 1 per 5?
No,
No?
it's actually, it's changing. It's going to require less parking. The ordinance change that's anticipated will require less parking than what the current does.
And
We naturally want to,
you want to pave less?
Yeah.
I want you to pave less, so
Yeah.
that's why,
Yeah.
so you're not set on more pavement?
no.
Okay.
No, we don't want
You're
that.
not going to be one of the people that wants more parking than you need?
Right.
Okay, there's required, rather?
Right.
Okay.
So basically, anybody else have any questions?
this is kind of off topic, but Ben, the change in the parking, is that something staff can do, or does that have to go through city
Staff is working
council?
on it, and then ultimately planning commission will make a recommendation, and then council will make
Okay.
the decision.
So in some, from my perspective, what we're trying to do is maintain the residential harmony of our community. We're growing so fast, and there will be housing in that area, so we're trying to make it feel like we're making an effort to keep the residential feeling. You know?
I do understand that, and I share in some of those concerns, but again, remember, this is not residential area. And go take a look around you out there. What's going across the street? It's going to be eventually a medical center.
Right.
Everything else, it's going to be commercial in front of this. You're going to have service stations. You're going to have food and other things.
Right.
So this is, and let's face it, this area does commercial. It does. It needs more commercial than it does residential.
Question that. What
Yeah.
I was saying is that you could set an idea so that you're trying to maintain the residential
Yeah.
flavor for this community, you know?
Yeah, we want to keep it as quaint as you possibly can, keep a quaint three-story building, but,
Okay.
and we intend like decorative shutters and things like that to give it more of a look like that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, oh, is there anybody else out in the audience who would like to make a comment on this? Okay. Can I have any more discussion here, or we'll go to a vote? Anybody want to propose something? Andy?
Oh, you're talking to me? Am I up?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've done a special exception before. Do they have to show a hardship? Well, either grant it or you don't. Right.
Yes, and it's based on the criteria that the applicant went over.
Right.
Yes.
The satisfaction board, the board.
With the exception, though, that this particular exception goes with the property, correct? Yes, as opposed to some of the other special exceptions, which would just go to the applicant. Am I correct on that?
So,
Came in and applied for alcohol,
Right. We wouldn't attach this to their business license.
this would be our code for what we need to find to sign special exceptions. If you want to incorporate that.
It will go with the project. So if this project does not go forward and project is planned for that area, project will not go.
yes, thank you. I just wanted to make that clear. That's all.
Say that one more time, Chris, I'm sorry.
The board grants the special exception for this project. The special exception that you're granting will go with specific project.
Right.
If the developer decides to not go forward with this project, but do something else in that area, special exception for whatever it is at that. Project they're bringing forward.
So basically, they either build it or they don't.
Yeah.
They either build it or they don't. Okay.
Well, anybody here ready to, doesn't have to be you, Andy, I was just.
You're just picking on me. Wow. I will move that the board grant special exception BZA-25-1. The special exception complies with all the applicable development standards. The special exception will be in substantial harmony with the area in which it's to be located. The special exception will not be injurious to adjoining properties. The special exception will not discourage or negate the use of surrounding property. In approving the special exception, the Board of Zoning Appeals may impose such reasonable stipulations, conditions, safeguards, and its judgments will enhance its citing. Anyway, that's
Motion.
my motion.
It's a motion, so Okay, do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Go to a vote then, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. We can tell Mr.
I have a quick question for Chris.
Mr. Bill to come back in.
In the past, we've attached special exceptions to business license. Anything else? I mean, like, somebody might come in and ask for a special exception, but I thought I remember us in the past.
We did it to the Cuba,
The
the
Cuba
Cuba
restaurant.
restaurant. We did it to them.
Now, you referred to special conditions that you placed on the special exception?
Yes.
Yes. And you actually read that off in the last portion of your motion, that the board can attach to the special exception and the conditions that the board may want to impose on the special exception.
Right.
Now, in this case, you do not,
Right,
but you do have the authority to do that.
before we vote.
Well, at the time you're making the motion,
Yeah.
impose, and then the board votes in favor of that, everyone in favor, then the applicant would be bound by that condition for the special exception.
So he could have said that the building be blue.
Right.
You know, our special condition is the building would be shades of blue, or it would have hurricane shutters or something.
The low country style consistent with the building.
Okay.
Right, we did that with a building that was going to go up, and it hasn't, it's not gonna go through, right? With a storage area and, is that storage area still going?
My understanding, they withdrew it.
Okay,
After we
but we did
spent
do
all our
that 'cause
time talking about it.
You wanted it to be a certain color, right? To
Yeah,
blend
I
in?
did, because of where it was located.
Yes.
And also it had outside doors. This one's gonna be inside. This one was climate controlled and not climate controlled. This one is only climate controlled, so there's a little difference in it from my perspective.
Very good.
You know, there's two different code sections. That's why I sent you all, if you didn't see them today, I emailed you the highway commercial standards for climate controlled storages and not climate controlled, because there's a difference between what the code says about them, so.
Sorry, I didn't.
I didn't do it till 2 o'clock, because I started reading them, and I thought everybody should be able to read this so they have a chance, but last minute.
Okay, we're ready to move on to item number 3?
Yes.
Okay, great. We've got item number 3 on the agenda. We got BZA, it is 25-2, an application by Shanna Bryson for a special exception to allow on-site consumption of alcohol at a proposed restaurant and family entertainment facility at 3607 Highway 17 South, Zoned Highway Commercial in the 8C District. Ms. Bryson? Self, tell us about it. Mary Kramer.
Not Shauna Bryson.
Okay.
She's my neighbor, and I work with her. I work with G3 Engineering and Land Surveying, and this is a project that we are doing where the current Ryan's is located. And this older building is going to be torn down, and the new building will in-house. And the best way to describe this business relative to something you're aware of is a Dave & Buster's. It's a family-type organization. It is founded by a family out of Maryland. Chris Rita is the owner. I've met him. He's very family-oriented. But regardless of that, they're going to have a bar in the middle of the restaurant. So Ben has brought it to our attention that we need to get this taken care of. Available for, I did want to mention one of the things that we will, currently there is a driveway that exits onto Poinsettia where there is residential housing. That driveway will be eliminated, so there won't be access to Poinsettia without coming through the parking lot and going around the corner. And we will be putting up a huge row of oleanders, the taller trees with the beautiful white or purple flowers, fuchsia flowers, for a screening.
Any questions?
I do. Okay, the question I have is for Mr. Caldwell, and I'm not disagreeing at this particular point with the special exception. I just wanted to know, why couldn't this have gone through some kind of a permitting through the zoning board, since we're a Board of Appeals and so that if the permit had been denied and it's in an area where other places serve alcohol, if the permit had been denied, then it would have come to us. And the permitting process could have done through the zoning board or through an inspector there, because we're the Board of Appeals. And if we turn it down, then the only appeal that person has is to either find new evidence, come back to us, or go to court. Am I correct on that?
That sounds correct, yes.
Yeah, so,
That's just the way our process is set up.
yeah, I know. And I was just seems to me that that might be a logical thing, permits, because we also do sometimes we do the steel buildings and that kind of thing, and they get a permit because a special exception goes with the party, in this particular case, that's getting the permission to do it, if I'm correct on that.
Yes, sir.
And if they sold the business, then it would revert, the new person would have to come in.
Yeah, if the restaurant concept was going to change or
That's
something,
all,
then it
and
would come
just
back.
in my mind, it seemed more logical. That's
Well, I think that's where they're bringing it before, us, making sure it's not, conflicting with where the business are doing next to a neighborhood. But like you said, as you said, this is kind of what they have on the 17 anyway.
My only question is actually for the city as well. If this was just a vacant piece of land, well, they wouldn't have to, they could just apply for their permit and move on, right? Their alcohol permit and move on? or no?
Any new business that is serving alcohol for on-site consumption needs to get a special exception in highway commercial. It could be in a PDD, perhaps, like Coastal North, where they wouldn't need to go that extra step.
Okay.
And Ben, is it tied to being near residential, or wouldn't matter? It's still
No,
highway
if
commercial?
it's a new restaurant that has on-site consumption, in the highway commercial district, they would need to come before the board.
Good.
We went through
I
that
didn't realize
with Jack Axe.
Yes,
Remember?
you did.
We went through quite.
Throwing axes and drinking beer?
Yes, yes. We didn't. Mhm. They're right across the street from you.
Good deal. Well, let's
I have
keep,
another question. So they're here under the special exception, I guess, 4C, which is business establishments serving or permitting on-premise use of alcohol.
Yes.
So what about 4A, amusement parks, arcades, and rides? So isn't this going to be an arcade?
There will be arcade games within it, but I would consider it a restaurant with accessory arcade games and a putt-putt, and there's other kind of games in there as well.
Okay, because the other,
If it was just a building to house video games, then I would call it an arcade, and it would be for that instead of the alcohol.
so this is sort of like the other issue with the convenience store having a restaurant in it. You're
Yeah,
saying the
yeah,
same sort of thing that
right.
we're talking, so they only need a special exception, in your view, because we're serving alcohol, not because they're going to have multiple arcade games?
Correct.
Okay.
And they still have to get they still have to get a state.
The
permit.
state needs to approve it as well, yes.
okay, good deal. Let's get this thing moving here.
Yes, sir.
Where we at, Ben, like to hear from the city? We'll go from there.
Petitioner Shannon Bryson has submitted a request for special exception for serving or permitting on-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages, beer and/or wine, at a proposed family fun restaurant located at 3607 Highway 17 South, zoned Highway Commercial HC District. And there are a list of criteria that the board must find in order to issue the special exception.
Thank you, Ms. Scola. Any questions for the city?
Ben, number one here under special exception, talks about being close to neighborhoods.
Yes,
There's a neighborhood right behind it, correct?
right.
Is that outside of that 200 feet?
It is within it's less than 200 feet.
Okay.
And as it continues to say, except in unusual circumstances where mitigating conditions can be implied to minimize adverse effects on residential uses. Mary mentioned the oleanders. Are those evergreen? Okay, so that's kind of like an extra buffer that they're proposing to mitigate that distance.
And shutting that
Shutting the
access
driveway.
down. Is that what you said? Okay.
200 feet from the property, is it from the property line or the footprint of the building?
It would be from the property line to property line.
Okay.
And that's
This would be
maybe,
just, I mean, we've already got Rockefellers there and Horse Gast House
17
and
is-
King's, and so there's already restaurants all around there serving alcohol.
and I'm assuming this one probably closes earlier than like Rockefeller's as an example.
I mean, there's already a bunch of places around there that's serving alcohol. This isn't the first building in that area.
Is anyone prepared to make a motion? The bar restaurant's been there, I mean, that's Highway 17.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we grant special exception BZA-25-2 because applicant complies with the special exceptions other than the 200-foot requirement from residential, which they have mitigated a plan to restrict access back into that neighborhood and also create green space that will block views from the parking lot, and that this alcohol permit is only allowed for this particular business license that's being applied in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Any discussions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. Got a nay from Mr. Thomas. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. We've got item number 4, 25-3. We've got an application by Sergey Sashka for a variance for resort residential in the R4 district. And
Dear Honorable Board and representatives of Sergey Sashka is my name. I'm the owner of the property and simultaneously the superintendent of the remodeling project, rehab. That's what we're doing with the property. So I would like to start from the backstory of the house, and I do have a few pictures. I attached them to the application as well, but I guess we can put it here, right? Or would you like me?
yeah, right, give it up.
Is it here? Yep. So there will be the horizontal pictures. I have one more, but yeah, let's start describing this one. Yeah, I would like to show how the property was before. There was 2 ways, and yeah, let me roll back. That's how it looked. The staircase previously that was in the middle, in the center of the property, it was also not meeting the required setbacks. Also, I would like to make a point that there wasn't any parking underneath of the property. And you can see yourself that it's completely distressed property, so there was just only 2 ways how to deal and to proceed for me in the future with it, which was either to completely smash it down and build something new, or to find a way and preserve it, which I believed was the best way for this case, just considering my own vision, how I can turn this property and the potential of it and the look of original house itself. So with that being said, I decided to proceed with the second way to try to preserve the property and, well, try to make a candy out of it. So we had to follow, obviously, the city regulations and do everything what the city required with engineered drawings, which made us to rebuild entire foundation of the property, well, obviously, according to engineering drafts, and simultaneously also slightly raise the house. Raising the house, and it's also one of the replies to the questions in the application. Raising the house is not something unique or different that we did. It's a common concept in the cherry grove area particular, or I don't know about the other ones. Well, since we're in North Myrtle Beach, let's discuss cherry grove area. So that's the common concept. The primary reason for that is, you know better than me, to help the properties to fight the flood issues. So we did something with raising the house. We did something that's very common currently in North Myrtle Beach, in Cherry Grove area, in the high flood hazard area. Currently, one more property on my block is raised, as well as one more property next block. And again, you're aware more than me that it's a common concept around the Cherry Grove area. Also, two more things I would like to add to the factor of raising of the property. A part of fighting the flood issues, the future flood issues, and let's say, considering the amount of work we did, the quality itself, we don't see this property to be, we don't see anything happen to this property for the next, I would say, 50 years. And we know that the hazard of, not sure it's a speculation or it's a real one, of the rising sea levels. So the sea level is rising, and theoretically, logically, it's better to have the property as high as possible. At the same time, we did not just try to raise it as high as we could. We matched the neighboring properties. So both of the properties on the right and on the left does have the same first floor level as our property. So we matched those. But logically, again, and from my understanding, the city also changing the ordinance, like changing the setbacks of the for oceanfront properties where those houses, where those properties can be built. So from my understanding, everybody anticipates the sea level to rise gradually in the future. So again, that's beneficial for the end user and for the owners of the property. Few other reasons regarding the raising of the property. Since we raised it, we had to bring everything up to codes and fit mechanical, electrical, mechanical, and all of the other equipments to meet the elevation requirements, which and the raising of the property helped us to do it. And the third factor, I believe it's important, and I would like to expand on that. That's the factor that we opened the parking spaces underneath the property. So, yeah, I would like kind of to unwind on that. The city executives, the city itself, well aware about the usage of the properties, not just in R4 particular area, but in entire Cherry Grove Beach, small zone, let's say. The city is aware that most of the properties, they've been used as the short-term rentals, as the vacation rentals, and by that awareness, the city executives, I believe from some of the department, they constantly making the calls to the owners of the properties, asking them whether they do have the business license allowing to operate the property as the short-term rentals. I did get that call as well, just as an example, just to bring the little fact. I did get that call as well, even the property was under the having the construction permit. I did still get the call asking whether I do have a business license to do short-term rentals. With that being said, the city anticipates, I mean, that's my opinion, anticipates that everybody or majority of the people that do own and do have properties as the short-term rentals. I don't know exactly what would be the ratio right now. I would say, based on my observations, probably 80 to 20, but we can anticipate in the future, and again, my opinion, it will be higher and higher, 95 to 5, let's say, how many properties are used as short-term rentals and how many properties are used as the permanent residence. Having such a high volume of properties as the short-term rentals, I believe, my opinion, that...
Here, give us a second on the, we really want to talk about the facts of this case, not really demographics and people moving in. So let's try to just keep it that, because otherwise it's a little hard for me to keep focus of really what we want to address and try to figure out how we can resolve this.
I was heading there.
So, but talk about the second homes and primary residence really doesn't have a major factor in this.
Got it. I was just leading to the factor how important I believe having the parking spaces underneath the house, because let's say I do have experience 10 years in short-term rental markets. That's my specialty, and we cannot control how many people staying really in the house. So what people do when they do not have enough parking spots where to park the cars, they just drop in it outside of the house, and they drop in it on the street, on the road, with a lot of potential hazards and
We understand that. Let's do this. Let's hear from the cities, because right now, like, I'm just want to try to understand your circumstances. Not real, we understand the short-term rental market and all that. So give us a minute. Let's hear from the city, and then we'll come back with questions for you, okay?
Petitioner Sergey Sochka has submitted an application to reduce the required front yard setback for a staircase at 207 30th Avenue North, Zone Resort Residential R4 District. The district requires a 15-foot front yard setback. The existing stairs were recently added to the home after it was raised. The stairs encroach approximately 12.7 foot into the required front yard. The applicant would like to keep the steps as is. Staff recommends that the board review the variance application, review attached photos, and hear the evidence presented at the meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell. Do you have a picture of the house? Do you have a picture of the current? Because I went by earlier, but I'd love to see a picture, a current picture.
I just put it here.
Of the front, the parking?
Or you would like to see?
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. You got all the design on here. It just kind of threw me off. I'm sorry.
And I did little draft as well, and if you give me another 3 minutes, please, so I can expand on all of the options why.
Well, give us a second, because we got a process here, and then we'll come back, and we're going to catch all that. Just give us a second.
And I've got to say, you're talking really fast.
It's hard.
And I don't understand you. So what you're saying is just sort of like going in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better for us to speak to the city, and so we can hear exactly what the facts are, what the facts are, and then we can ask you some questions that we think you're talking a whole bunch of stuff that is not really relevant.
Yeah, that's not relevant to this. So give us a minute. We want to hear from the city. Because right now, what I want to understand is, first of all, you raised it, it all looks good, but now we're just trying to figure out a way if there's a hardship for the stairs.
Yeah, I understand.
So give us a minute, because we got a lot of stuff that we want to get from the city, understand how this all came about. Okay? Great. Just give us a minute. Ms. Caldwell, on the, I think to Ms. Lover and probably all of us, they raised the house. We understand we're down in the flood zone.
Did they have permits?
Did they have a permit?
They have a permit for this work as of the 13th of 2023, when the permit was issued. It was taken out in 2023, and the applicant showed a plot plan of the work that he was going to do, and it was approvable. And so I signed off on it on the 14th of,
The front steps.
yeah, the front steps.
The initial plan.
Yes, was signed off on the 14th of September. Then, April 29th or 24, another plot plan was uploaded showing what he's built now without that sign off.
But not in the same location.
Not in the same location, going further into the,
Well, I wasn't going past what was initially there, the 8-foot, they had an 8-foot setback on the before picture. If you go to the before picture, it shows where the steps are 8 foot off the property line. We allow new steps to be placed in the same location after the houses are raised, which is an encroachment, but it was an existing encroachment. It's just an improvement to the property. The steps that were shown on the plot plan did just that. They went back to the original location. Since the house got raised, he had to build them closer to get the rise over run necessary. If he took them one direction, he would lose parking. If he took them another direction, he would be encroaching into the side setback. He looked at many different ways, and he's attempting to show you that in some of these drawings. He looked at different ways that he could make it work. He exhausted an idea, couldn't find an idea to make them work, so then applied for the variance.
Okay, got it. But we built this first.
I'm sorry?
But we built this first. Yes. Before we came to a solution.
Yes.
Without the appropriate permit.
He had a permit for steps, they just came out farther than what the plot plan showed.
Okay.
Because we want to raise the house, the elevation, and the drop.
Correct.
Got it, that makes sense. Is there,
Did he move the house? Did he go straight up, or did he go forward or backwards? when
Straight
he
up,
moved it?
right?
Just up, just raised up.
Same exact
Yeah, we did
footprint
not-
of the old, it was originally, okay,
We did not change any footprint, it was just raised up,
okay.
about 3 feet.
was there any other, just curious, you know, when you look at this and think about the elevation, was there any other spot that they could have put it? Because it's a challenging, you're trying to get the thing out of the flood zone, we get that part. Is there another solution, was there another option for stairs?
There would have been an option to move the house back, I believe. Is there a pool or anything in the back that would stop you from moving it?
There is the swimming pool right
Okay.
now. Well, we built swimming pool, we built,
Okay.
You built the swimming pool, it was not there?
no,
Okay. And you had the permit to build the swimming pool?
yes.
It doesn't look, when I drove by, I didn't get the feel, but obviously the streets are, you know, we got more of an encroachment on the street that you don't realize because it's going in there. It doesn't look that far forward, and it looks as reasonable as you can with the setbacks, you got.
This is the approved plot plan that was signed off.
The original one.
When it was signed off on, how close were the steps to the street?
It was the initial, what was there.
Well, I know, but I couldn't see the dimensions. I saw the picture.
It was 8 feet. It was 8 feet off
Yeah,
the
that would have been a,
So then that would have been really, he couldn't have done that because it would have been really
Because the
steep
elevation.
steps. Right, okay.
Raising it, they had to have.
Yeah, the rise over run thing, okay.
And then have access into the house because he raised it.
I mean, I don't really see that he has a lot of options.
let's say, has a lot of options, and you're trying to get out of the flood zone. Everybody up there in
Yes.
Cherry Grove needs to be out of the flood zone.
Yeah, everything
He's
is
got a
getting lifted.
50-foot wide lot. I mean, he's
Yep.
a small lot. They're antiquated.
Where to put it?
What is the size of the lot compared to the lots in the area, Ben? No,
I
Is that
don't know. Can you
smaller or-
pull up the aerial?
same or?
Yeah, on the block, all the same.
County website says it's about 4,791.6 feet.
It's small.
Yeah. And the minimum lot size is what, 70?
5,000 square
5,000.
foot in the R4 district is the minimum.
Okay.
So this is below the minimum.
Yeah, it's probably around 3,700 roughly. Yeah. So
So you could,
your hardship is you have a small lot, right?
Say it again, please.
Your hardship would be that you have a smaller size lot, correct?
yes.
Well, smaller compares to
Yes.
what?
Yeah, just
Your
yeah.
minimum size lot's
Minimum.
5,000 feet. You're at 91.
You need to have a hardship. This is your hardship.
Yeah.
The size of
This
the
is
lot.
your, that hardship. Yours is an undersized lot.
It's an undersized lot, yeah.
Saying that your required square footage for that lot to be developed as is, today would be 5,000. You're under that 5,000.
It creates a hard.
Yeah, I was focusing personally on the hardship that we create if we do staircase. If we build it any other way, that you just mentioned that I didn't really have options to build it any other way, because all three options that we described.
Your hardship has to be related to the land. Doesn't matter whether you have parking, whatever, your hardship has to be related to the
Global
land.
warming, the oceans risings or fall, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, you just have a smaller size lot than what would be required for current regulations in the zoning today, in that zoning district. It would be 5,000 square feet would be required. If you were to go put a new subdivision over there, that lot would have to be 5,000 square feet. This lot was grandfathered in because it came into the city when they changed the zoning for R4, and so that lot's only 4,700 square feet. So you have a smaller size lot than what would be required in today's zoning requirements.
Which makes it challenging for you to put stairs in there. So
Yes.
So what they're saying is that you have a hardship that goes to the land.
I got it.
Yeah.
I think we,
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that the board's discussion with staff and the applicant, even though the applicant hasn't necessarily in the record, the board has developed the facts that this lot is small. And the board wishes to rely on that fact, that's the hardship, and as a relationship plan, the board certainly can do that as that fact has been developed.
great, thank Thank you, Ms. Norrie. And I'm just going to give you, just be careful on, when you make those adjustments in the future, if you do any of them, because we're looking at this, we found a hardship. If you didn't have a hardship, you'd have to pull those stairs down, you wouldn't have access to your house. So, but we do, but there is a fact that your lot is undersized. There is a hardship in that self. But make sure if you're doing things in the future, just be careful with that.
Got it.
Okay.
How would you do differently? Like push the house back?
You go
Or-
consult with the city before you build it.
Yeah, before you do it.
You stick to your plot plan that you turned in and got approved. Okay, and then if you think I need to make changes, you need to go to the city before you make the changes, because you made changes that weren't approved. So that's all. In the future, you just need to, don't go off on your own and do stuff that was not under the original permit. You need to get a new permit if you want to change things,
I got it.
Good deal.
okay?
And they'll do everything they can to try to
Yeah, they'll try.
accommodate you. They're
Yeah.
not, they're not your enemy, they're trying to help you
Right.
get your house
Yeah, I'm
done,
listening.
you know?
Okay,
Good
but
deal.
you went and did this that they never approved to start with, and they might have had different thoughts when you started. So just ask the city before you build, okay? Get permission, not forgiveness.
All right, great, thank you. Is somebody prepared to make a motion?
I just want to clarify. The encroachment really is only 2.4 feet, right?
It's 2 foot 10 inches off the front property line.
It's 2.10 inches off the front
Yeah.
property, so it's actually, okay.
It's supposed to be 15,
It's supposed to be, well, steps and stairs can go up to 3 foot into the front yard, so it's actually supposed to be 12.
12, okay.
Okay. So 12.7.
But because it was at 8, we would have allowed it to go back to the 8-foot setback
Okay.
as a replacement.
Okay. Great, thank you, Ms. Colwell.
Mm-hmm.
Someone prepared to make a motion?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
I move that the board grant variance BZA 25-3 because applicant has demonstrated an unnecessary hardship. Specifically, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property, which is a smaller size and nature, which is required in current today's zoning ordinance for District R4. These conditions, they do apply to other properties in the vicinity. Because of these conditions, application of the ordinance to this particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The authorization of the variance would not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent properties or to the public good, and the character of the district would not be harmed by granting of the variance. And we will ask that you maintain, you came in here today, that the stairs encroach approximately 7 feet into the required front yard.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Great.
got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who's the winner tonight? No.
Great. Do we have a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we close the meeting.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. All in favor? Aye.